Okay, sound. So we're in the studio. It's an exciting morning. We're here to inevitably just tell a story, and we want you, the listener, to be a part of it. This isn't just our story; it's yours. This story that we're about to tell today is born from a set of circumstances, but also from a moral compass to do better and to be a part of something really powerful. So I'm in the studio today with two very, very important cogs in a massive machine in a wonderful business called Win-Win Water. So we've got Josh and we've got Kate. Kate's the main man in the show, and Josh does a lot of the work with the sales and marketing. But we're here to really share a lot around where we are at as a company and the story behind it and where we want to go and the intention behind it. So, chaps, welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
We'll do a very, very small introduction, starting with you, Kate, if that's okay. Who are you and what is Win-Win?
What a big question.
Who are you? Who are you? Is a massive question.
Yeah, you know,
I won't forget.
Or who are you in the Win-Win dynamic? That's that.
In the Win-Win dynamic, I suppose I'm one of the founders, but it is a group of us who've come together. But I probably call myself, even though I hate that term, I'm probably like the CEO role of the business at the moment. So I'm working with everyone, trying to keep everything together, trying to keep the story strong and trying to keep us moving forward. So yeah, that's probably my main role, although I hate that term. Everyone seems to be a CEO. But
I think it's important to be a CEO of your own life, though, innit? You know. And what is Win-Win?
So Win-Win is the biggest thing that I will ever be involved in my life, and it is basically my heart and soul and the group of people that I'm involved with, their heart and soul personified into a product. And I know that sounds quite cliche, but that's the best way I can explain it.
What product is that?
So the product is, it's easier, I think, to start with what the problem was. So the problem is that in mass consumerism now, or you know, in the world that we live in, we're all drinking water as we should be, 3, 4, 5 times a day. And it's delivered in a plastic bottle. And a lot of the time, the water that's in there is poor quality and it's just driven on price. And with Win-Win Water, we've tried to bring something that's not going to pollute the body, something that's not going to pollute the earth, and it's going to give us the best possible hydration and nutrients that it possibly can.
It's bottled water.
So in a nutshell, it's bottled water, yeah. It's bottled water with a difference, yeah.
Lovely to have you in the studio today.
Thank you.
Josh?
I'm going to make Kate feel better and call myself a COO, Chief Operating Officer.
Nice.
I'll become a little bit of a utility man. I think when we initially launched, we had an idea of how it was going to go, and maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, we were like, "There's so much more to unpack here," and you find yourself doing different things. Ultimately, my role is to drive the business forward from a marketing and a sales point of view. But yeah, you wear many hats, so we've worn many hats so far. Yeah, and my name's Josh, by the way.
Awesome. So we're here then to talk about this bottle of water, you know, and there's I think where I think we should start is, where are we at the moment with this product? And then there's a whole backstory to this, and I think it's important to get into this backstory and the challenges that, you know, we've come across as a team, and where we actually want to go and where we want to take it, and this moral desire to do something really good and to be a part of, to be a part of change. So let's start with, where is Win-Win Water and what is actually unfolding within the company at the moment?
So right now we are at the most pivotal part of the journey so far. So we're about to launch into mass production, what you would call mass production. So that's making sure that the bottle and the water is produced and packaged in the UK, ready for it to explode into supermarkets and the national supply chain. So it's the work we've done so far is to get us to this point and basically prove that, 1, there's a desire for it from consumers, and 2, that it wasn't just an idea that we couldn't bring together, or we could bring together. We actually had to research it, bring it together, test the market, change the price. So right here, right now, we are in trials in the UK in order to make it mass production ready for supermarkets, which we've had a lot of interest from.
Let's just talk about the bottle for a moment. What is it? What's different between Win Water and all the other all the other brands that you see on the supermarket shelves? On a day-to-day basis, Kate.
I think the key part of the product is the bottle. So it's the nature of the bottle. So the bottle, it looks like plastic, it feels like plastic, and it acts like plastic in many, many ways, but it isn't. It's made of 100% plant-based material, or what's now referred to as a biopolymer, which I think we're going to see a lot of it coming into the market. So what's the nature of the biopolymer? Well, it'll biodegrade in 90 days, so it'll be gone from planet Earth in 90 days, whereas a plastic bottle will be here for 500 years. And more importantly, now this what we found mad is what Josh is saying about the journey so far. These products have been available for 15 to 20 years. People have been producing them for 15 to 20 years, and there's been a lot of criticism over different aspects of it. There's been a lot of lobbying, which we've learned that plastic companies have tried to stop it from becoming an available product. But in the last sort of 2 years, the nanoplastics and the microplastics, and the fact that normal plastic is just filled with toxins, that's in the mass media now, isn't it? Like
so's the plastic pollution now as well, isn't it? Like you've only got to do. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, and like you can talk about global warming that no one can touch or no one can feel. And unless you're a scientist, you don't really know what's going on, do you? But if you do the eye test and you look at the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, like it's there, you can see it. Like you see all of the pictures of the turtles in the plastic bags, you see all of the bottles washed up on the beach. Like you can see the problem. It's not like it's a fugazi of may or may not be. Same with the nanoplastics. It's a bit of a fugazi until Harvard test 5,000 semen samples and go, there's plastics in 5,000 men's semen samples. Like that's concerning, isn't it? So sorry to butt in, but the eye test is like it's visible.
Well, let's talk about the plastic then for a minute. Before we get into the journey, the plastics that is a problem. And so if you can elaborate a little bit more on.
Well, it's everywhere, isn't it? If you look around this room now, there's plastic everywhere, and that's not necessarily a problem. Not a problem we're trying to conquer anyway, one thing at a time, isn't it? But unless you're eating these materials or drinking from these materials, then they stay where they are. But I think the world's moving into a very health conscious, well-being environment again, isn't it? And if you look at the effects that plastic has on the body and the effects that plastic has on the planet, it's really, I was going to swear then, it's really concerning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really concerning.
When it comes more and more to life for me, as soon as you've got children, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, I'm drinking a bottle of water to go to the gym and whatever. And I think our generation and the next generation are trying the best, and we've got reusable bottles. But inevitably, you get to the gym and you forgot your bottle of water.
Look, we're never going to get away from single-use bottles again, are we? We're never going to go back to a place where single-use.
No, convenience is key. Yeah. It is key. So the problem is when I'll use a bottle, normally go to the gym, use a bottle of water. That could be on the planet for 500 years. I've drank it in fucking 15 seconds on the planet for 500 years, and it's like, well, hang on, I'm passing it on to the kids. And I think going back to the other point we were saying, you can see the plastic as a problem, and I think we've all sort of known that for long enough, but it's partly sad. But once people know it's actually impacting their immediate health and it's going to affect them, I think that's where the change has been in the last, I'd say, 2 years, where people have gone,
definitely,
no, fuck this. You know
it's
what I mean?
In the foreground of the media now, isn't it, Kate, with microplastics and nanoplastics? Can you just give us an idea, obviously, for the people listening today, talking about, you're talking about plastic bottles there, water bottles. Give us some facts and figures.
The most shocking one is 36 million plastic bottles are used in the UK every day. 36 million.
36 million
a day.
That's not including glass and cans either, by the way. That's just plastic bottles.
And it's only growing, because everybody's saying about convenience. Convenience is key. 50% of the plastic that's in the River Thames is plastic water bottles.
Wow.
50% of it. It's like, it's so shocking. You've got loads, haven't you? You're the man with the stats.
I'm the man with the stats. Been called worse. I can't even remember the question. What was the question?
Oh, plastic bottles.
Plastic info on the plastic stats.
Yeah.
Put you on your toes, haven't I?
Mine's gone blank. You put me on my toes.
Well, there's 36 million bottles in the UK alone.
So recycling,
yeah, sorry, that's
the
where I was going to
9%.
go. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, the recycling stats. So there's two concerning things about the recycling stats. Only 9% of those, depends where you read, it goes from 7 to sort of 12.
Yeah.
Depending on whose article you pick up. But in 2022, greenpeace.org.uk did the largest investigation into recycling ever in any country. And they found in 2022, only 9% of the UK's plastic waste, not just including bottles, by the way, the UK's plastic waste was recycled. So, you know, if you were to chop that down to plastic bottles, who knows?
I'm well, obviously you've got multiple businesses before getting to this point, and I obviously care more now, and I'm trying to make the right decisions. I'm trying to do the right things. So one of the sites, the bin contracts just come up, and even though outside the factory we've got a general waste bin, and then we've got a mixed recycling bin. All of the mixed plastic in that mixed recycling goes for incineration.
Right.
All of it. And
Yeah.
I've spoke to the biggest 5 bin companies
We
in
had that
Liverpool.
fella in the office the other week. He was like, "Oh, they just garbage patch in bin anyway. Doesn't matter."
So even though we're in our office, we'll have a recycling bin, and then it goes outside and goes into the right bin to go recycle. None of it gets recycled.
Wow.
It's only domestic stuff that in general gets recycled. All the commercial stuff most of it isn't getting recycled. It's like, it's such a bullshit lie.
So we've
of what's
been
going on.
sold a lie on recycling, haven't we?
Well, on that note, by the
Massively.
way, out of that 9%, the UK don't even recycle that. So it's not the UK that are recycling that 9%. They put it on a big fucking ship and send it to Indonesia to be recycled.
Yeah, or Germany.
Wow.
Or China, yeah. So we don't actually recycle a lot in this country, full stop. Which is mad, because you walk down the supermarket now, we had this conversation loads, like you'll see a steak in a plastic container and it says, I am 80% recycled, or I am 100% recycled, I am 50% recycled material, whatever it is. They're kicking the can down the road. They're still using the same material that caused the problem in the first place. Not only that, Coca-Cola sell 1 billion plastic bottles every day. Just Coca-Cola.
Wow.
There isn't enough recycled material in circulation to fund Coca-Cola,
Wow.
let alone everybody else.
Shocking.
But when you start finding these things out, like we didn't, as soon as you're in the rabbit hole, the deeper you go, the more like, this needs to stop. And then the morality thing is like, if we know it and we don't do anything about it, then who will?
There's definitely been a change. You know, you see it with your kids, and you see it around your little culture around you, don't you? But most of my friends, or the people I spend time with, are filtering the water now, and they know the reasons for it, because it's heavy metals and it's plastics and whatever else shit is in the water, and they're passing that on to the kids. So like in the morning, our kids, that they've done it this morning, packing the kids lunch, metal bottle of water, filtered water goes into it. I do think that we're on the verge of a change. I really do.
It's mad that though. I'm gonna butt in and take the opportunity to tell a story about me and you came to sit on this couch, because I was in Total Fitness gym speaking to this lad who worked for United Utilities. I was going through a little bit of a phase in my life where I didn't know what I was going to do next, and he started talking about how your wastewater just goes into the same big container, and they put a load of chemicals in it to clean it, put it back through your pipes, and then the next day you're drinking it. Like all of the water goes in the same gaff.
Yeah. Wow.
They add chemicals that make it drinkable, and then you go back and drink
Many
it.
machines that filter it, or they try to filter.
I don't know, but it all
Yeah.
goes in the same gaff. They put chemicals in, filters it,
Yeah.
and then you're drinking it the next day.
You can go down a rabbit hole with that though, can't you? Because
Yeah.
you can go down
Well, I did, didn't I?
estrogen in the water. You can go down, where's the estrogen coming from?
Yeah. So I started looking at
And the
all these
state of
things.
the pipes that the water's running through, etc., etc.
I started looking at all these things, and then you see the pipe getting cut, don't you? Like lead pipes have been banned since the 50s, and you still having water. I think it's the 50s. You're still having water fed to you through them. But anyway, I'm sitting there going, another rabbit hole, I don't need this. Looking at the water, and then Kurt comes and pulls me for a coffee and goes, you know what? Been meaning to ask you this. I've got this idea, and like, I want to start this business and I want to bring it to life. I want you to get involved. Like, all right, what is it? Water. You're joking me, aren't you? So he'd found what he'd found, and then I'd just discovered the water issue, and then away we
So
went.
let's briefly then go back in time, Kate. You know, we spoke about, We touched on recycling, the plastic problem individually for our own health, and collectively for the planet. But let's go back in time, because obviously you've had an idea with water, and you've obviously come across this product, which the water sits in. So let's get a bit of a backstory there.
So where it sort of all has come from, I started with business with my brother like 14 years ago now, and we make cold pressed juice, and brilliant business. Like it's helped us build the lifestyles that we've got now, and I love it. But we looking at plastic and looking at the problems, when we start being more aware of what you're actually doing, I'd start to see millions of plastic bottles coming into the factory and going out of the factory. And when I first started, that was a bonus, because you're like, well, essentially that was more money going in the bank. That's just being honest. But over the last 5 years, looking at things, thinking, well, what's my impact here, and what am I promoting? And I've got kids. My kids are coming up to 7, 5 years old now, or 8 and 6 nearly. And
what are you modelling?
What am I modelling? Is it all just about money? Is it all just about, well, go out there and do something, and if it makes money, sounds, build your lifestyle for you? Yeah. And so they're the questions I started to ask over the last sort of 4 or 5 years. So then started breaking down, okay, well, where are the things I'm doing that I'm not very happy about? And the plastic was probably number 1 on the list. And so then started looking at other solutions. What surely there's things out there.
Just give me an idea of how many plastic bottles you were putting into the system. With
1 million a year.
Wow.
1 million a year.
So, that's rubbing up on the moral compass, or,
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, of course it is. I mean, I'm not giving myself too much of a hard time, because there wasn't another solution. We are literally pioneering the what we believe is the solution.
Yeah.
So I started looking at it, and it was just pre-COVID, and I found a company importing from Poland. So it's very similar material, a biopolymer. So we were the first to start importing it, and there was a company that had gone bust, and we bought the rights to that company. And when I relaunched it, we had "fuck plastic" written on the side of the bottle. F apostrophe. Yeah. We might be doing it again. Yeah. So we have "fuck plastic" written on the side of the bottle. 100% plant-based bottle. Launched it, and the company that we were buying them from, COVID happened, and they switched that machine over to making plastic sanitizer bottles. Blew the machine up. You couldn't get it. Fucking hell. So then a couple of years, it was about 2 years later, I was then looking at another French-based company, which I admire a lot, called The Wild and the Moon. And I was reading their website in French. Not that I'm French, I can speak French. But they kept referring to a vegetal bottle. I was thinking, well, that's obviously vegetable bottle. So then I started searching in French, and then I managed to find a company which, up until now, we've been buying the water from, buying the bottle from, rather.
The bottles from, yeah.
We've been importing it from France since then. And then in the meantime, I am probably still going to do it at a future date, but I was going to launch a kids juice in the bottle. That was the initial idea, and what I was following through with. And then I'd gone to joined up yourself with the meditation classes. Joanna, my wife, she'd gone separate to me, and we'd been going down that sort of journey for a couple of years, and then got to the level 4, which was probably 2 years ago. Yeah, probably 3 actually, wasn't it?
2021.
3 years ago. That's flown.
2020, 2021, in and around that time, wasn't it?
That's flown. That
21 it was.
Was it?
Yeah.
So we level 4, and I did at the back of my mind always think, someone's going to see us do this with the juice for the kids and apply it to something bigger. But I hadn't gone down, I hadn't thought about that in detail, but that was something at the back of my mind, like a little thing. And then we were talking in the class about win-win relationships, weren't we? About how if you get in, whether it's business or whether it's any relationship, it's about finding that mutual point where it's like, this is good for me and this is good for them.
Yeah.
Rather than, the old business paradigm of dog eat dog, and if I can nick a quid, I'll nick a quid off him, and it doesn't matter if that means he's in the ship for a couple of years. Yeah, it's like, well, hang on, where do we find exactly? So we were talking about them relationships and working forward how we don't operate like that, and how we sort of pardon the pun change the world by us being the men in our society where we don't operate like that. And then we dropped into a meditation, and then it just out of nowhere, it was just before we left the class, just win water just on the back of my brain. It was like, oh, and I remember it just sends a shiver down my spine saying it now. It's like, oh my God, like win water, that's the product. That's it. I wasn't sitting there thinking about the material, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was like,
that was the
just
brand, that was the idea.
That was just like the epiphany. It was just
Yeah.
wow. And then I'd sat on it for a couple of weeks because it was like, I think I'd gone on holiday, to be honest. I think me and Joanna had gone on holiday with the kids. And I think I told her while we were away, I didn't tell anyone for about 2 weeks. And I told Joanna, and Joanna has heard me have millions of harebrained ideas. You know what I mean? She's like, obviously you're close to our family and that, Josh, as well. So I told her, and she was like, that is boss, that, like. And like normally she'd be like,
another one.
I was going to say that's a rarity for Joe.
So it is a rarity. And then from there, me and you went for lunch, didn't we? About a couple of months later or whatever it was. And then from there, then we've decided that we wanted to open it up into a group thing, which is again going back to this win-win relationship where it's like, instead of that dog eat dog, where it's I own the most cards in the deck, and I'm going to use that to leverage my lifestyle and my position. Opening that up and going, well, hang on a minute, I've got a group of people around me. I'm very fortunate to have a group of people around me where we've all got a similar mindset and we've got similar desires and a similar outlook.
Of skills as
and
well.
A set of skills. And it's like, well, hang on, what if we do this together?
Yeah.
And that's what's born into what started as the idea into like the product. And then since then we've really drilled into like, how do we make it the best product we possibly can? And then that's come to the water and the other things that got.
So born out of a revelation, but also a set of circumstances, there's then this marriage, and what you could say now is win-win water. Let's just talk a little bit about, the bottle itself, because you're talking about how it's a bioplastic, is it? Or
biopolymer, yeah.
What's it actually made of?
So it's 100% plant-based, and it's mainly made of like sugarcane, hemp, and a couple of other ingredients. It's very difficult for us to get hold of the full recipe, to be quite honest with you. That's been something we're actually working with John Moores University, aren't we, Josh?
Yeah, the beauty of it as well, though, is there's loads of different blends now. So the more people you speak to, the more you learn about it. Something might be 33% sugarcane based. Something might be 33% seaweed based. Like the more it's expanding, the more research and development is done into the product, the better it gets. So, as Kurt mentioned, we're working closely with Liverpool John Moores University now in the UK to break it down, make it up, and see if we can use different blends, maybe a material that's easier to get hold of or easier sourced or more sustainable. So this is really just, Kurt mentioned before, 20 years ago, this come across the ether, and then now it's like it's really going. USA. The USA are the first country, they run the world, don't they, to give up on recycling. So beginning of this year, they've not give up on recycling, but they've said recycling isn't a closed loop, it isn't an end option. We can't fix it. We need to look at biomaterials, which is what we are. Which is amazing to know that America have gone, right, that ain't it. Let's double down on bio. There's got to be a better option. I'm where are you now trying to put it in the UK?
Do you want to explain what that bio means, though? Like what does it?
Bio just means biodegradable, natural materials. So plastic is a forever chemical. So it never really breaks down. Kurt mentioned before, if we were to lash God forbid, you lash your plastic bottle in the ocean, it's going to survive before it breaks down for about 500 years in its full capacity.
Wow.
And then when it does break down, it doesn't truly break down. It breaks into nanoplastics or little particles because those chemicals don't dissolve, essentially. Right. They're not natural.
Okay.
We've created them, so they don't dissolve. Whereas a biopolymer or a bioplastic or a biomaterial is made from all natural ingredients. So it's from the earth and it eventually goes back to the earth. So if you throw a banana skin in the park, go back a couple of years later, it'll be withered and it'll be gone. Yeah, it's all natural.
Yeah.
So that's what a bio is. It's made from biodegradable materials, and that's the cap, the label, and the bottle as well. By the way,
so everything about the win-win bottle,
everything
is biodegradable.
Everything,
yeah,
which is absolutely incredible.
And what you're saying, the toxin thing's the key, really. So it will break down into smaller pieces, like everything will on the planet. But when it breaks down into a smaller piece, it'll eventually end up as a lactic acid.
Right.
And then we're consuming lactic acid, which we've got in our body naturally anyway, and it'll pass through our body. So Josh was explaining before about nanoplastics being in the testicles of all 5,000 men that were tested.
Yeah.
This won't be.
Right.
It'll be passed out of the system.
Lovely.
So
It's
it'll
in
go down to-
embryos as well, by the way, isn't it? So
Wow.
it's in embryos,
Yeah.
but they've
In
tested
breast
babies
milk
in
and
the
everything,
womb.
isn't it?
It's in breast
Yeah.
milk, yeah. It's literally
Everywhere.
everywhere.
And even if this isn't, this can just be a step as well. It's like it's a commitment from people to say, we want to go down the route of making this better, rather than just carrying on just buying plastic and producing plastic as cheap as possible. It's like, okay, well, we're going to do this. And imagine if we get 2% of the market in the UK, for argument's sake, then other brands will turn then and go, that's got some legs in it, that. And then within 10 years, it might be 10% of the market.
Why haven't they turned, Keith?
Well, great question. I was just going to say, on that note, Coca-Cola, if you go on Coca-Cola's website, they've made a pledge, whether you believe it or not, by 2030 to be using biomaterials, which is incredible because they're the biggest producer, well, maybe not producer, but they're the biggest seller of plastic bottles, certainly. The reason it takes a large period of time is mobility.
Yeah.
So we're new off the ground, we can just go and do it. If you go back to Coca-Cola selling 1 billion bottles a day, they can't just do a 180. And they also can't say we're going to sell 50% bio and 50% plastic, because as soon as they admit plastic is bad,
Yeah.
nanoplastics are a problem, plastic pollution's a problem, they can't be seen to sell it, right?
Mhm.
They've got to do a full 180 on the whole business operation, which is manufacturing, whatever. So
They have committed, haven't they?
they have
Yeah, made a
committed, yeah. They
commitment.
have committed, which is great. But for them to fully do it, it's going to take a period of time.
But when we talk about time, or where win-win as a product is, like, it's actually been basically on the market for a while, Case, hasn't it? We talk about this plastic bottle coming from France. And I know then you saw some water, didn't you? So let's talk about the relationship between the bottle and the water you've sourced, and how that then give birth to actually getting this particular product in people's hands.
Well, if we knew now the steps, what the hell?
Every day's a school day.
Oh, it's been with anything, like you start something new, you've got to learn that industry. So it's a full level of commitment, and it takes a while. To go back to the question about where we are now and the water. So the water, we wanted to source the best possible water that we felt we could get our hands on, basically, within the UK.
Yeah.
So that we're trying to create this product all done as much as we possibly can in the UK. But that's the ultimate goal, which we're nearly there with. The water's currently coming from Cheddar Gorge. It's extremely high mineral, which is the main benefit. So without going down another rabbit hole, if your water doesn't contain minerals, it's actually not really hydrating you, because the natural electrolytes in it don't exist in a reverse osmosis water. It doesn't exist.
It's in
So
smart
actually-
water. Sorry.
So you're not just learning about plastic bottles now, you're learning about water.
It's learning about water. So obviously the win-win is the bottle costs a hell of a lot more money to produce. It costs a hell of a lot more money to get to market. So why would you put shit water in that?
Of
Like
course.
if you're someone who cares about the bottle, you would also surely care that
Awesome.
the liquid that in it is
Yeah.
the best it possibly can be. That's where we believe we've married the two things together.
Also the health aspect of it, though, as well,
course
isn't it?
it is,
Like
yeah, yeah.
it's about the product, but it's what your health.
Of course.
Of course it is, yeah. I don't want to like slag other things off and say that water shit or this water shit. I don't want to go down that road, but at the end of the day, we've tried to source the best possible water we can get our hands on. And
Yeah.
that's the clean, the
Yeah.
easiest way of trying to put it without going into too
And
much
at the
detail.
minute, it is a premium product, isn't it? But
Well, it's mad that, though, isn't it?
I know, but it's something I know that
It's only premium because of the price.
exactly. I'd like to get into that story just a little bit later on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Because
a
I
lot
think
there.
there's
Yeah.
a lot,
Yeah.
to still cover before we get into that space.
Yeah.
So
So
water.
awesome. So the water is the highest quality water we could source within the UK, and to put that into explain that, it's the highest mineral, so it's extremely high in magnesium. 1 litre of our water is your 100% RDA for magnesium. So magnesium's very high, calcium's really high, and then the total dissolved solids is really high. Also the pH is perfect. So your pH range should be slightly in the alkaline levels, in my opinion, or in our opinion. And the water's pH 7.4, which is exactly the same as your body. So your body's not taking in acidic water or high alkaline water and converting it to what it wants it to be. It's coming in at the right level of where it should be. The water's also extracted through organic land, which means that there's been no pesticides on that land whatsoever. And it's an area of natural beauty, so they can't be moving forward. No one can just buy it and start, because essentially with good quality spring water, there's always a risk there that someone can pollute the land around it and it ruins the water. And we learned a story, didn't we, about Perrier water? Mm-hmm. So Perrier water, do you remember?
Yeah.
My mum and dad used to buy it as like a posh water. Do you remember? It's like if you have a barbecue, mum would have it,
it was
outside.
In a glass bottle, was that right?
Glass bottle.
Yeah.
And I remember like summer, and my mum would have a couple of oranges and we'd have, or lemons, and we'd have glasses of Perrier in the garden having a barbecue. And I remember thinking that water's a bit posher than everyone else's. And then it disappeared. And we only learned because we brought somebody in who's been amazing, that a guy who was working, a technician on the site, he dropped an oily rag into the borehole, the end of Perrier water.
Wow.
Ruined it for like however long they had to find another source of water because they contaminated it just by dropping an oily rag.
2 weeks later, that fellow went missing as well, by the way.
He probably did. We're going down at another thing there, but essentially we've made sure that we found the best possible water we can.
So you've married the water and the bottle. And how's that then unfolded over the last, you could say, 12 to 18 months?
Well, it's been an incredible journey, to be honest. Serious highs and serious lows. So everybody loves it. And I mean that. Everyone loves it. Not everyone loves the cost of it. And that's been the biggest fight so far.
Neither do we, by the way.
Yeah,
neither do we.
Of course.
But there's a story there, and there's a journey and hopefully an end point. We are bringing down the cost of it substantially. Now, the cost can only come down once the mass production of it happens. So what we've learned is a spring water, say in the UK, you literally name any spring water that's made in the UK, that production process is nobody touches it. No man or woman is involved in that process. The bottle goes in its purest form and it comes out at the end, labelled, everything done, ready to go to market. And what's been happening over the last, what we've learned over the last sort of 50 years, it's been a race to get that to be the cheapest possible. So if you look at like Costco water or these different really cheap waters that are available, what you're buying is water that's bottled water that's cost 2-3 pence in order to produce.
Wow.
Literally 2 or 3 pence to produce. So you think, how's a bottle being produced?
Yeah.
Filled with water and on the shelf ready for you to buy it. You're buying it at 10 pence. But the producer's making money on it, the wholesaler's making money, and then the retailer's making money before you've bought it. It's like, so it's been a race in the UK, well, in the world.
If you look at your plastics as well, so if someone's watching now or moving forward, go and buy 3 or 4 different plastic bottles, they've got different grades on them. So just goes to, prove what Kurt's saying. You can get different grades of plastic, and most of them are thin, shitty grades.
But the cheapest water, it tends to be, the plastic seems to be so thin, doesn't it?
Well, like the famous saying, you get what you pay for in every walk of life with everything, including your bottled water. Like,
but it's become a perception thing, and this has been the most difficult thing for us to fight against. So this industry has been built on driving down cost, driving down quality in order to deliver something that's cheap. Now, what's happened then is us as the consumer, our perception is that a bottle of water should be 50p. But I've heard other people explain the same about chicken, for argument's sake. You can buy a chicken in a supermarket for £3, plucked, ready to go in the oven for £3. That's too cheap.
Yeah.
The quality of the chicken, the quality of the lifestyle that's lived has led it to that point. And now we're like, that's going down a different topic. The quality of the food we're eating isn't good enough. And the same thing's happened with most things within the food and drink industry. And the water, people will always compare it and say, okay, well, say that's our water might be retailing in a coffee shop for, at the moment, it's probably on average about £1.50, isn't it? £2 somewhere. We will have that lower soon. So they'll compare it to something that's 50 pence. And we have struggled at times to then explain the full process and say, well, this is why the product is costing us a lot more money. We're only actually making the same margin as what these other companies are making. But the quality is there. So that's the difficulty. So it's easy to open a conversation and explain it to people and they go, wow, until you've got to pay for it.
And that's like a big, almost a big driver for us at Win-Win, isn't it? Is to create awareness, drive the story.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know, for everyone else to know, that we're paying for it now.
Yeah.
Like, for us to bring this to market, it's costly. So we get it, more so than anyone.
So when we talk about costly, let's get into some figures, Kate. How much is it costing? You know, you guys at Win-Win just to create the bottle with the water in it.
I couldn't give you like a single figure, but to get to the point we're at now is hundreds of thousands of pounds to get to where we are. And, you know, that sounds like a lot of money, but actually in significance to the industry that we're in, it's tiny.
But the bottle itself, how much does it cost Win-Win to produce one bottle?
Well, it's changing.
Yeah.
This is where we're at this pivotal moment. So at the moment,
and it has changed already as well, by the way, hasn't it? We've already moved the price once.
So we make on a bottle of water anywhere between 15 and 20 pence. Absolutely nothing. You know, nothing. But that's a margin-based thing. So we you know, in the water industry, the producer makes 20%. That's what everybody works to.
Yeah.
So at the moment, the bottle, because we're buying it from France, importing it to the UK, filling it because we're shipping, you know, putting the water in the UK, labeling and then delivering it out to the customer, it's obviously costing us significantly more than it needs to. But our difficulty has been we haven't been able to convince a Spring or a producer in the UK to do it all for us on site, because from their point of view, we're just this tiny little fish. So we've had to sell water, prove that people want to buy it, in order to convince everybody else that, this is going to go. And so that's where we are now. We've managed to prove that, and we've managed to now, instead of having to import the bottle from France, we're now importing the rawest ingredient, the smallest form, and then the whole process is happening for us in the UK at source. And the significance of that is like 35-40% drop in cost.
Just on that note as well, manufacturing. A lot of the big manufacturers know what it is.
Yeah.
But it's a more difficult material to generate or produce than your PET. Like your PET plastic's blown all over the world, everywhere. This is still new technology. So it's like, we might take it. For the volume you're doing is good, but can't be asked changing the line over and blowing the PLA. Like I'm a plastic producer.
Yeah.
Like, but you've just said, you know, plastic's a problem. You know, ours is a better material, but can't be asked.
So we're very much up against it, aren't we?
Definitely
Win-Win.
fighting uphill, yeah.
But you know, I think there was a big process for Win-Win Water earlier on in the year when it went to a big a festival, you know, or an international food exhibition.
That's right.
And I think, you know, going there and meeting all these people and sharing our product, it really probably opened up our world, didn't it? But it gave us more problems for us to, you know, to move through. Because when we talk about costing, they all love the product, but the cost seems to be the big problem, doesn't it?
That's when we realised that the mountain we were facing, the scalability, wasn't it? Like we'd got it to a point. It's like going from A to Z. We've gone from A, B, C, D. We're moving through the alphabet as you go, and the IFE, International Food Exhibition, which is the largest event in Europe for food manufacturing, food and beverage manufacturing, was a real eye opener to a couple of things, wasn't it? But one, it was mad. Like, we were in the startup stand and you couldn't move. Like, the amount of people at our stand was ridiculous.
We were the most popular in the show by a
mile. Yeah. So we realised there's an appetite for this. Everyone, the amount of people that were like, no, surely not, was amazing. But then it was like, you're speaking to these big hitters. Like, we spoke to Britvic, we spoke to big hitters. Tesco's.
Cardo.
Big players. Name dropping here, lad.
Drop the names, Marks and Spencer's.
Spencer's.
You know,
we
Sainsbury's.
spoke to mega
Morrison's.
Hilton Hotel. But then they brought new problems to light of scaling. Like what Kate just mentioned there is no one really touches the product. The little tiny pellet of sugarcane or raw material goes into this machine, blows a preform, blows the bottle, runs down the line, water goes in, lid goes on, label goes on a pallet, away it goes. For us to then get it to that point was like, here's like the next hurdle. So it was amazing to see the demand from the market.
Yeah,
the appetite was there, wasn't it?
Mega, wasn't it? And then it was like, all right, well, we need to evolve. We need to do this and this. But yeah, that was a pivotal moment, wasn't it?
That was definitely pivotal. And we from that, we spoke to then some of these websites, right? I won't name the company, but we were searching for different companies who were producing in the UK. And this website looks like this company does like £1,000 a year turnover. But jumped on a call, booked them in, was like, oh, they might be able to help us. Got on a call and they were like, oh, yeah, we love your idea. Yeah, we could potentially help you with it. We were like, well, what are you producing at the moment? And they were 500 million bottles a year.
Wow.
Just in the UK. We were like,
the website was from the 70s.
Oh, it was like
Wow.
absolute awful website. So he was amazing, to be fair. And he said, well, yeah, we produce for supermarkets. We're doing this brand for Tesco, explaining we would take your product on, we would do it, but we don't take you on until you're at 10 million bottles a year. We were like, which is, so it's double-edged, that conversation, because you're like, well, the opportunity, they just built another factory to do another 500 million bottles.
Wow.
That's a year, by the way.
A year. And he said, we don't believe that's even scratching the surface. So they believe that it'll be at 1 billion bottles a year in the UK, and there's still more, which is just like,
yeah, it's astonishing numbers.
But what I think what Josh was saying there is, how do we get from, we've done around 200,000 bottles. I reckon this year we might get, within a calendar year, the first year, probably 350, something like that, 350,000, which is amazing. We're so happy with it. But how do we get from the 350 to the 10 million? Or how do we find a company in between? So then we started looking at, okay, well, we'll just do the whole process ourselves. But then when you're going back to the question,
we struggled with that process, didn't we? Because it's, as Kate mentioned before, we haven't come from this industry, and it's an absolute minefield. And you're on the phone every day, emailing manufacturers, Springs, anyone you can think of, we're trying to get in touch with and have a conversation. But when we were at the IFE, we did a presentation. So because the event loved our product, they invited us to do a talk to a room full of buyers and influential people. So we were up there speaking away, and when we come off, we were getting like demiked, and this fella charged right over to us and went, I think you're making a couple of mistakes. I think you've got an amazing product. I really like the both of you. Here's my card. Give me a call. And then literally got off like dumb behaviour. So we looked at each other, didn't we? Who's he? Simon. Googled him, seen who he was. Okay. We'll get to that story about Simon, but then that was another moment of who we've got a team, haven't we, of people, yourself included, all with different skill sets, different networks, and he was another piece to the puzzle of, I've been here before, I've done it before, got 40 years of experience in the game, I like you, I love your product, let me help you.
Lovely. Wow.
We couldn't get it to that point without this other individual. So just like the world wants you to win as well is what it felt like after that. But sorry, I interrupted.
No, you were
right. Man.
So who's Simon and Kate?
So Simon's a guy we met at the IFE, and he's just been here and done this before. I think he's about 63. He might tell me off for saying that. Early 60s. He's owned and sold water businesses in the UK. He was the CEO of Harrogate, a huge brand in the UK. And he's just been able to help us massively. So because we're full of ideas, we're full of energy, we can get, pardon the pun, we can get shit done.
Yeah.
But sometimes, because we're new to the industry, sometimes you can run off on a tangent and think, well, let's start doing a bit of this, a bit of that.
Like a direction, you sort of dipping your toe, feeling your way in the darkness, so to speak.
Exactly. And thinking, well, we might be able to get a lead here and a lead there. And this guy's just been able to come in and say, okay, look, this is what we need to do first. This is the second step. This is the third step.
Nice.
And we've basically been following his direction now for about 2 months. Yeah, just coming up to 2 months. And things have moved forward massively. So
it's also who you know though as well, isn't it? Because he's super networked in that industry. So he makes a couple of phone calls.
Within Springs.
Shit moves, yeah. Whereas, we might have to pound that drum 50 times before we get an answer.
We did pound the drum 50 times. Like there's doors I tried to open and just computer says no.
Yeah.
and he's in there talking to them a week later.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Do you know what I mean? So it's that difference of, obviously people respect him for what he's achieved. So he's come on board now as, we haven't given him a formal name, but he's probably like a non-executive advisor, that sort of role, where he's able to steer us.
And what's he done steering you? What's been the big objectives
So
from him?
he has taught us more information about the industry. So just to sum it up, a producer of water makes 20% in the UK. They then sell it into the wholesaler at 20%, and the wholesaler then sells it to the end user or the retailer, and they make 40%.
Right.
So he's explained to us this is the industry in detail, and this is how we need to make our. If we hit these numbers, the brand is amazing. The vision is amazing. If we hit the next level, which is getting all of the financials in perfect, the proposals is essentially irresistible because it's got everything in order.
We ripped the business plan up, didn't we, 3 or 4 times a week? Like we kept changing, and we had 3 different avenues. So we had selling ourselves on a subscription model, which we totally believe in. It's what Kate knows. Where you're selling direct to the customer, and then we were the middleman ourselves, where we're dropping off the local coffee shops who were absolutely amazing, because without their support we wouldn't be able to keep it moving. So your local gyms, coffee shops, people who believe in the mission, want to buy it from us, we'll drop it off. And then you're looking for that mega access into the market nationally. So, I'm not going to jump in the van and take a box of water down to some coffee shop in Shrewsbury.
Yeah. Talking pallets now, aren't we?
We're talking wholesale pallets.
Yeah.
So we drop a pallet into some business that's got delivery vans everywhere, and they do a job. All them margins are different. All them businesses look different.
Yeah.
So we were like, we get the most margin here. It is better for the brand because it's straight to consumer. This is pallets though, but it's only 15 pence a bottle, but it's millions of bottles.
Yeah.
So you're chasing different hairs,
isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And having someone like Simon come in and go, look, in all of my experience, this and this needs to happen. So our commercial model didn't really fit the wholesaler.
Yeah.
By the time it got to the customer, people want to take too much money out of it. It was like that needs to be fixed.
And that's been the biggest problem, I assume.
Yeah. That needs to be fixed. That's where your focus needs to be. So it was like, don't worry about selling any bottles for a couple of weeks. I know it's going to hurt. I know you're going to make less money. That needs to be fixed now for you to go to the sort of next step. So it's having that level of knowledge in it coming into the business is like, that's what you need to focus on. Whether it hurts or not right now, for tomorrow to be brighter, that's what needs to be done today.
So what does that look like then, Kate?
So we're into trials now with a producer a manufacturer in the UK for the bottle. So what that means is we've brought the mass production of biopolymer to the UK. Like it's never existed before. We've said that the technologies existed, but no one's ever committed. So we're the first people to do that, which is like what's an amazing milestone. Even if you remove the business side of things of trying to grow a brand and trying to grow something, we've made an impact in that sense.
Good seeing it.
It's here. So other brands are going to do it. I know they are. So we that's what we've achieved in the relatively short term. But what that means for us moving forward is we'll be 30 to 40% cheaper now in production, which means we can pass that saving on to everybody in the chain. And what that then means is that, we're still a premium product, but we're now cheaper than cans.
Yeah.
We're now cheaper than most premium glass. Well, definitely premium glass. So we believe we've removed the biggest obstacles for us to finding real scale.
We're in the same ring now, aren't we? We're in the same ring as all these other products. We were a little bit above and beyond on our own for a little while, but we've got shit done and we've grafted to get it to the point where it is competitive. It's like we've removed all of the barriers.
This is a daily grind, isn't it, Kate? And let's just sort of talk about the emotionality just for a minute. How's this affected you? Like obviously there's been so much growth, personal growth for you, and
look at our hair.
Yeah. But I assume you've had a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of stressful moments because financially, this stuff doesn't work on a shoestring, does it?
No, it's been amazing in the sense of all the wins that we've had, which we've spoken about, and all of the new knowledge. And I've been asking, to be involved in a new business that had no scale, and I didn't know what that looked like, and then it's been delivered to me basically. So there's all of those positive aspects of learning and growing, but the negatives is the worry of like how we've been able to pay the bills that go with it, because it's a massive project. I mean, we were talking about guys coming in and helping us of amazing knowledge that it doesn't come cheap. Like their knowledge doesn't come cheap. We've had to trial so many things which haven't really worked for us. We've paid consultants who've come in and not performed. We've tried to do as many shows as we can possibly do, and now
Just on that note, there's no path to follow, is there? There's no one's done this before. Like there's no copy and paste here. So there's been a lot of money thrown at the wall to see what sticks, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely, which is worked. But it's the sleepless nights have been there. I've been relatively comfortable, financially for probably about 6 or 7 years, and in the last 12 months, I've worried about money again, which is so it's pushed me to my financial barriers, and it's pushed me to emotional and stress barriers for the first time in probably 5 or 6 years. But then I've asked for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can't actually do something new and something different without hitting them boundaries.
Yeah.
But it definitely has been outweighed by the wins and the positivity.
Yeah. And the excitement behind the project. And almost the breakthrough now, because I know recently there's been a breakthrough, hasn't there? With win-win. So tell us about the breakthrough, and how the sort of the stars have aligned to where we are now, and now where we're going.
Well, on that note of financials, I think the more time we've spent in this, the more time the more knowledge we've acquired about what's actually happening. Obviously, you've got to spend the money, and that hurts. But it's I don't want to sit here and say we're not in the business to make money, because we are. But it's a real mission now. It's like
we can now apply ourselves, can't we?
We're this close to making a massive impact that you can tell your kids about. It's not. I did this. I did this. I achieved this, and I got this material item as a reward. The reward is we made a splash in the UK market. We were the first individuals to stand up against big business and plastic and go, no, this is wrong, and we'll throw all the money at the wall that it takes to make that change. And that's rewarding, isn't it?
That's such a driver, isn't it?
It's massive, because it's beyond.
Yeah.
It's beyond the material. It's like we're making a real impact.
Yeah, it's really
something we believe
big in. It's collective.
Yeah, it's something we believe in. We're all passionate about health, well-being, and it's going to make a real difference.
Grandiose, but it's achievable.
It is now.
We're staring down the bottle of it now.
Yeah. It is. It definitely is achievable now. We can see the path now on what's next and how we make it explode. We missed out a little point. We've been invited to go on the Austrian. The Austrian Dragons Den. I'm
really?
not exaggerating. If we can, we've got to take someone who speaks German. I've got a cousin who lives in Germany, and was like, to ring him here and give him like 0.5% of the company, or to turn up. There's been some boss bits.
I said at the start of the podcast, you've got to wear many hats. One of them at the minute is learning German.
Because I really want to get into that breakthrough moments and where we are and where we're going. But there is a team at Win-Win, isn't there? Because you're talking about trying to, a lot of shareholders, and a lot of people, bringing their skill set. But we're also in a position where I assume now Win-Win, with the breakthrough and with the model of moving forward, it's also at a point where we need to raise some capital. We need to not just raise awareness, but we're raising capital to take it to the next level.
So we're definitely at a point now where we're about to break into being, arguably like a mega company, like a huge organization.
Yeah.
Because what we're working on is millions and millions of bottles moving forward. So some of the breakthroughs we've had, I won't say the name, but one we were speaking to so many supermarkets, but one supermarket has committed and said they would like to. They want to purchase. That's relatively. It doesn't happen overnight. So it's an agreement to purchase. Then it's your due diligence, and then it's moving forward. So that's like a 6, even 12-month thing. But we've always said as soon as it hits one supermarket, it's just going to go.
It's like a domino effect.
It's a domino effect. So that's probably the best revelation we've had in recent weeks. But then we've also, Josh explained earlier about how we, up until this point, we've just been door-to-door selling, and anyone we know, and coffee shops which align with us. So it's like, your independent coffee shops who care, they're buying it off us because it aligns. So we're in where am I now? What was the question again? Sorry.
Raising funds.
Where we are, pivotal moments. So at pivotal moments as well at the moment. one of the recent pivotal moments is, a good sized business in the UK, in Liverpool, them just ordering one customer ordering 100,000 bottles. That's just one hospitality business in Liverpool taking 100,000 bottles, and you go, whoa, it's starting to really move. You know, like, because up until this point, it's been us knocking on the doors and selling a case here and a case there. We're now at the point where we'll only really sell by pallets, aren't we? We sell a pallet into a distributor, and the distributor then does the legwork.
Does the work, yeah.
So coming back to, we're at a huge pivotal moment where we're about to go into a huge round of investment in order for us to springboard to become that huge organisation. And it's only now that I can confidently say that, because up until this point, we wouldn't have been comfortable taking this huge amount of investment because there was too many moving parts that we didn't fully understand as in.
Didn't have a clear business plan to invest in, really, did we? We didn't have the manufacturing and the production in our control.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much built on.
But what is
sand.
it? What is in your control when you're talking about that?
So now we will have so now we do have in our control the full production and filling of the bottle in the UK. So we're in control of that. And we've got the ability to scale up. So we've been having discussions with supermarkets, but if they pulled the trigger a month ago and said we want 1 million bottles a year, we wouldn't have been able to facilitate it. But then we had to convince a manufacturer and a spring in the UK to do the production for us, and they wouldn't take it on until you got the commitment. So we've been stuck between a chicken and an egg.
They also wouldn't take it on without the pre-form. So leads into that next point on what the investment's for as well. So we were currently buying we were currently buying the bottles from France as you see them, blown. The problem with that is to get it in the spring, it's got to be blown on the site and then run along the same line to be filled with a bottle. Instead, you've got an individual standing there, not using the machine that you've paid hundreds of thousands of pounds for, sticking our bottles on the line individually. So no one wanted to do it. So we went to our French supplier and said, got an order form. We're looking down the barrel of millions of bottles a year. We need you to not send us the bottles and send us the preforms that we just put hundreds of thousands into this machine and they come out the other end. And they said no. They were like, no, we're only selling you bottles. Well, why? Because we can't continue to buy bottles from you. For us to go to that next level, we need the preforms. So we went over to France, didn't we? We went to see them. We thought we could go on musée and sweeten them over, little hugs and kisses. And they were very nice and warming and welcoming. And then we thought we had an agreement, and we got back and they were like, nah, do you know what? He's changed his mind since you went home. You're not having the preforms. Like, what happens next? So we've been hunting and searching literally the world, for the bottle before it's blown in little caps to get us into production. And that's what we've achieved now. We found somebody who can create what we've got, send us it in the preformed version, to go on the machine and come out the other end as a bottle of water.
Is that bottled and is that bottled at source, is it?
Yeah. Bottled at source, yeah. In order to be a springboard, it needs to be bottled at source, yeah.
And that's quite an important part of the jigsaw, isn't it?
It's a very important part of the jigsaw, because without that, you're just a bottled water.
Yeah.
So it could be tap water, it could be whatever.
Yeah.
In that bottle. So we wouldn't have the win and the win together if we were putting poor water into a great bottle, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, the spring is key. So we can't say too much on it. We're literally in the middle of a trial basis at the moment of that happening. But in the last sort of 5 weeks, if you imagine, as the problems come in, you start to feel like you're in a bit of a tunnel. And then you're looking for the solutions to get yourselves out of it. At the moment, it feels like that, like we've got a solution in every direction, doesn't it? It's not anymore where, well, we were importing bottles from France. What if they didn't want to carry on a relationship? It's now because we have started to build a name and a demand, and we've got these emails and writing from big organisations who want to get involved with it. All of a sudden, we've got people who want to join us.
With us now.
Yeah, people want to work with us.
Like
So
buses,
now,
they come in twos. We've got plenty of options now.
Yeah,
we've got plenty of buses. So that's where we're confidently now at the point where it's like, okay, now's the time to really invest and get it so that we become a national brand. And that, we were rewriting the business plan, essentially. I think we've got, jokingly, V3701 business plan on the board, haven't we? They just got a 1 on the end because it's moved that much. But we're now sitting on a plan now where we're saying by January 2025 we'll be available nationally.
Wow.
All over the UK. And if we can get one customer in Liverpool to take 100,000 bottles, one hospitality business, it's just like the scale's there. You know what I mean? It's there.
Sitting here now having this conversation is beautiful, because I think this is the first time we've sat down and actually just looked back at everything that's happened and even discussed it in a room with other people. And starting out, business plan 3701, didn't really have a clue what we were doing, did we? We seen a problem and it spoke to us and we wanted to fix it. And then over this 10-month period, it's like so close.
I think what's so beautiful as well is, like, obviously there's been it's given thanks to the support Liverpool have offered so far. 100%. You know, all these independents and the people who are following the story and buying into the story and buying into the product. You know, and that's been like such almost like a lovely little, lovely little journey, domestic journey for win-win so far. And now, you know,
100%.
all these blessings in disguise, so to speak, and all these trial and errors that, you know, you guys have definitely been right on the ground with, you know, from day dot, getting to this position, you know, all these moving parts, having Simon on board, clear the direction, making loads of mistakes, so to speak, and now being in a position to be like, right, okay, we can bottle it source, we've got the preforms, you know, we that drives the price down, we can now go to market. You know, that's pretty much where it's at, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly where it is.
Speaking of our city as well, by the way, like the amount of people that we don't know that aren't from this city that are supporting it is incredible as it flows out. But it had to start somewhere. And it started with us banging on the door saying, look what we've made, do you fancy it? And the amount of people that were like, this is boss. And it's like, Liverpool loves being the resistance, don't they? Like, you know, we're against the man.
Well, we're gutsy people, aren't we, Josh? You know, and we there's a lot of outliers in Liverpool, you know, and I think, you know, credit to Kate, you know, because there's a level of belief and foresight that I know you've held really close to you, Kate, from the moment you've had that revelation. But even before that, you know, you're very entrepreneurial, aren't you? You know, and the way you've navigated your life. You know, there's definitely that outlier attitude that you've had for many, many years, and being in and around you and watching you operate. It's almost like you were made for this, weren't you? You know, and well, it really is. You know, it's like the right man for the job.
You can't give him compliments. He doesn't take them well. It's not the right environment. Yeah,
well, can't take a compliment.
But there's a lot of belief with this now, isn't there? More than ever. It's not just an idea. You know, it really is, and it's not just the way you've been navigating life through this sort of outliering, you know, entrepreneurial attitude and mindset. But there's something that you know that it's not just an individual journey now.
Yeah, it means a little bit more.
Very much more
a
collective one, isn't it?
I think it's just for me, this is talking just on a purely personal basis. I think it's just a huge opportunity for me, because am I ever going to get the opportunity to do something that genuinely is good for the planet, good for the people, and I get to learn how to run a huge organization? When am I ever going to? I've been asking for that. You know, I've arguably, you know, manifested. Some people would say that an opportunity in order to grow and move forward. So, yeah, it's It's been obviously so hard, and the trials and tribulations that have gone with it. But what a gift! What a gift to be given.
Can you tell me a little bit more of maybe how that gift could unfold over the next 10 years? What would it look like? Not just immediately for 2025, but, you know, like if we were really going to, you know, we're talking about manifestation and creation and co-creation here. What does it look like in your mind's eye in 10 years?
I've got a little fantasy. Which is 5-6 years time, saying to the kids and Joanna, come on, let's go and do Australia branch.
Wow.
You know, and then like obviously there's 12 of us, I think, within the group. What if we all had that opportunity to go? I'll take Spain, or I'll take Italy.
I'll take Ibiza.
He'll take Ibiza.
Glastonbury.
Yeah. So that's it. You know, that's one of the little fantasies of growing an organisation and then being able to go globally with it, and then live the lifestyle that brings with it.
The beauty of that though, going globally, because I think a lot of people will hear that and say, wealth and you know, that lifestyle. The beauty of going global is if we clock the UK as a term, we're at 200,000 bottles now, which means we've stopped 200,000 plastic bottles from going into circulation. If we get the UK to 10 million to get in this place, whatever, that's 10 million plastic bottles that aren't going into circulation.
Yeah.
If we end up in Australia and we do 100 million bottles a year in Australia, that's 100 million plastic bottles that aren't going in circulation. So driving this business home is for real change for everybody. Not just that we get to run a business and have a successful lifestyle, we get to make an impact all over the world.
I think the wonderful thing about being a part of this team, you know, I'm really loving observing, you know, is the selflessness, you know what I mean, and the mindset around, you know, how big and how impactful this can actually be, you know, and that comes down to the very brand which is called Win-Win Water, you know, because everyone's winning, aren't they? You know, and it's a what a great story. What a great story for us all to tell, you know, not just our kids and our grandkids, but for people to be a part of. And I think there's an invitation for people who are watching this today that, again, this isn't just our story. This isn't just Kate's story, Josh's story. This is our story. This is your story. You know, and we want you to be a part of it. We want you to tell our story. You know, we want you to be excited about telling our story because, you know, it's
their story though as well.
Exactly.
Mark,
it's
their story.
And you know, you can be a part of it just by speaking about it, telling the story and supporting the brand, supporting the product, supporting the vision.
I think that the biggest thing we were hoping to achieve out of today's conversation is go and do your own homework. So, you know, don't take our word for it. Go and take a look at plastic pollution and microplastics.
There's got to be a change.
Come to your own conclusion. There has literally got to be a change.
Well, there's so, you know, this conversation could have went on and on and on, and we could have kept talking about, you know, facts and figures and this and that. But I think what we've inevitably covered today is the backbone of where we are, where we've been, what we've learned, and then how that, you know, almost activates a you know, action and intention, you know, to move forward with clarity, with professionalism, you know, with cleanliness, and to, you know, to make that action purposeful on a daily basis, you know, to make sure we're incredibly proactive as a business. And it'll create not just a ripple effect, but it, you know, it no doubt it's going to, you know, create lasting change, and it's going to create jobs for a lot of people as well, isn't it, Kate?
That's the plan. I mean, once we start scaling up, we're going to have opportunity to bring really creative people in and give some boss jobs, and that's another like desire of that's the environment I want to be working in, and I've got two boys who are growing up. That's the environment I want them to be working in, where you're around people who've got a similar mindset to you, and that's been one of the deeper layers of the water, has been trying to create that environment for us all to flourish in.
It's the opportunity to liberate others as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the opportunity that we've got an opportunity to create something that gives opportunity to others to liberate themselves from the wheel.
Absolutely.
If you like, and I think for me, for my personal background, working for other companies in different sectors, selling different things, you're only ever as good as the product that you're selling. Like, without getting into the realm of manipulation and whatever, if you haven't got something that you believe in, you're not getting out of bed in the morning excited, are you, regardless of the amount of money that you make? This is something that everybody can.
Well, it's a lifelong project,
exactly,
isn't it?
exactly.
You know, it's a long-term project as well, Kate, isn't it?
Everyone on the planet drinks water. Bar none. Bar none.
Some weirdos just drink Monster all the time, don't they? Like, I'm sorry if there's, you know, I shouldn't have said that.
No, but it's the convenience water is never going away.
No,
it can't go away. So how you know, if we don't end up being the organisation that we want to be, if we've been part of making a tiny little change, and then people go on and find, you know, in 5 years, 10 years, there might be a better technology again. It probably will be if we're honest with each other. And so for us to keep up with that technology and try and move forward and try and find the next best thing, but it's definitely not going away, is it?
I think I'd like to maybe just then finish off on, obviously, you know, we got this with our particular product, but let's just tap into for a moment cartons and cans. You know what I mean? Because just before we sort of begin to finish this conversation up.
So one of the biggest comparisons we get is obviously cans on the market, because cans are aluminium. They can be endlessly recycled. And I don't want to dig out any other alternatives, because that is definitely a step forward, I would say, from plastic bottles. There's a negative with cans in the sense that they're still lined with plastic. And does that still leach into the water? Well, yes, it does. But also, cans have got a place. Now, okay, a can could be a solution to water in some environments. But what about if you're just looking at bottled things that are put into a bottle? From your shampoo to whatever else, a bottle of water, a Diet Coke, whatever. A bottle is always going to exist. And even, you can't have a 1 litre can. You can't go in the gym with a 1 litre can you? It's impossible. And then you can't refill it. So a solution for bottles has to come forward.
Yeah.
It has to come forward. And for me, it's always going to be a better solution, because bottles can be reused time and time and time again.
Yeah.
I've had the win-win bottle in my bag, in my gym bag. 7 months. 7 months, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can keep using it. So cans, we're always going to be compared to them. And they've definitely got a place in the market, and it's definitely a step forward. But it's never going to replace a bottle.
Yeah, and talking about cartons and even glass bottles for a minute.
You've got other food there as well, haven't you? Like one of the people that came forward from the IFE was Yeo Valley. You know, the yogurts.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Can you make this for our yogurts?"
Yeah.
Like, one day.
Yeah, we
call you
will.
back in 2 years.
Yeah.
But like everything that you see is plastic. We can replace it with a bio. There's no reason you can't.
Yeah.
So it's not just cans versus plastic versus. It's like change across the board.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the Tetra Pak, which is the cartons, what a load of shite. Like, it can't be recycled. It's no good for anyone. It's paper, plastic, and aluminium or something else in there. And I think look at how that is recycled.
Still leaches.
Still leaches plastic.
Yeah.
Some the videos I've seen, poor woman sitting in a pit of dirt, ripping the plastic from the cardboard.
Yeah.
Putting the cardboard in one. Putting the plastic. No one's doing that.
Wow.
It's not getting recycled.
And just talking about, you know, the energy consumption, you know, with glass for a moment, and the CO2.
Yeah, so I mean, glass is obviously great. You obviously find glass in like hotel environments usually, don't you? And it doesn't leach. It can be recycled. There's people say it's endlessly recyclable. It is endlessly recyclable, or near enough, if you're not clear. If clear glass is only 60% recyclable.
Clear glass is 65% recyclable. So you can recycle 65% of the materials in a clear glass bottle. You can recycle 95% of a green glass bottle. Don't ask me why, I don't know. That's the facts. So even the green glass bottle, only 95% of that material can be used again.
Yeah.
So you got 5% of it going to waste.
And if you're honest, what happens with it? Like, what happens with a bottle of beer, right? You go into a bar, you buy a bottle of beer, you drink it, it goes outside and goes in a glass bin and gets smashed. It's used once.
That's right.
Once.
Yeah.
And it uses 400 times the CO2 to create a glass bottle than a plastic bottle.
400 times.
400 times more CO2 in the production of glass than it is in plastic. And we're another 40% reduction, 60% reduction on top of plastic.
We didn't do the maths on glass, did we? But before coming here, we did the maths on the carbon impact we've had versus plastic. So for 200,000 bottles, it worked out 6 tons, 6,000 kilograms of carbon.
Wow.
We've removed from production by using our material.
Wow.
That's just us in our little world alone. What happens when that goes to full scale?
Yeah.
You know, it's mega.
So you've come to the conclusion that, you know, the bottle we're using is the best option.
No one's told us otherwise either, by the way.
Yeah.
So we've spoke to every supermarket you can mention, we've spoke to them. We've spoke to people who live in the dark who you've never heard of, who sell hundreds of millions of plastic bottles a year. No one knows a better solution.
Yeah.
It's just, can I still drive my Ferrari if I use this product, or am I going to take a hit? You're going to take a hit. Phone me when it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Like, that's some of the barrier that you've come up against. No one has said this isn't the best option because of X, Y, and Z.
And you guys believe, or we believe at Winwin, it is the best option.
And we'd love to find out if it isn't.
Yeah.
If someone's out there and has got a better option than what we've got, tell us. We'll go and buy it. We'll go and do it.
Yeah.
It's not like we want to be right and righteous and the heroes. Like, if there's a better option out there, let's do it.
Yeah, lovely.
There isn't.
Wow. So, okay. I think, you know, we're naturally coming towards the end of this conversation today, which has been, you know, enlightening, educational, motivational, inspiring. You know, and again, I think we don't need to keep talking about, you know, the vision we have, and the excitements, you know, we've got around this, around the whole journey with this particular product we call Win-Win Water. So just lastly then, Kate, you know, what anything you want to share with the audience?
What do you want to share?
Not to put you on the spot, like.
I suppose I think so far the most important thing has been we have had a huge amount of support. We've had literally like as many hurdles as we've had support, but we've had a huge amount of support. But mainly to say thank you to the people who've bought it up until this point, because you've helped us prove it's the right thing to do. So now we're just facing the next challenges of how we get it to mass market so everyone can buy it. So my main thing is to say thank you to those people who've supported us, and we are working on making it mass market.
Josh?
I'll double down on the gratitude. I think that's what it all comes back to, and I think I'm not stupid enough to know there's people out there who can't afford to buy 24 bottles of our water, which is sad. But they're definitely out there. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's told somebody about it. Everybody who's went and done their own little bit of research and is pioneering change, whether that be win-win or anything else. Anybody who's out there trying to stop production of plastic. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, big thank you for anyone checking in. We just need your help. We need you to share this video. We need you to share this story, this conversation with as many people as possible. You know, we need you to follow us on Instagram. We need you to, you know, check us out on the website. It's www.winwinwater.co.uk. And just get involved. You know, I think, again, we said it before, this is your story. And we really hope that, you know, you can get on board with us. There's loads of moving parts. You know, and we're going to be sharing, you know, all of our stuff, and we're going to be as transparent as possible, you know, moving forward. And we will be fully transparent, actually, moving forward through social. So keep following, keep sharing the story. And yeah, big thank you to you, the listener. And thanks for, you know, coming in the studio today, giving us a little taste of what's going on.
Thank
all the moving parts.
Where are we, by the way? I don't even know what's Passion Productions, is it?
Passion Productions.
It's a belter. So if anyone wants to do a podcast, this is your gaff.
Thanks, gang. All right, over and out. Have a great day. Bye for now.
Thank you.